Yeah.
All right, I think we're live, guys.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to my channel, unexpectedly. Welcome to the buddy read discussion for the X's and O's Readathon. This was supposed to be over on Jessie's channel from Reading with Jess, but she lost power thanks to the Virginia snowstorm. So, yeah, moved it over here. We're going to give it a few minutes for people to find the new link, I think. Give people a chance to pop on. But I see that some people have found us. So,
Yay.
welcome. Thank you for coming on over. And hopefully anyone who is missing this craziness is able to find the replay link later and get all the thoughts that they want. But let's start with having us just introduce ourselves, just in case anybody here is not familiar with your channels, then they can check you out. And should we reveal anything yet as far as like thoughts on the book or anything, or should we just introduce and then we can get into the book?
I think we'll just
introduce. Yeah.
Oh, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Poor Jessie. Hi, everybody. My name is Gwen. My channel is Gwendolyn Kensinger, and I did finish the book. So I'm excited to talk about it with everybody. Sorry, Jessie can't be here, but maybe she'll be able to pop in. Maybe the power will come back on magically.
Yeah, hopefully.
But thanks to Jordan for hosting for us tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Jessie, I hope you can pop in. I feel like it won't be the same without Jessie, you know?
It's like her readathon, and we're like, take it over, This was our grand plan. It's not ours.
We're hijacking the... I'm Summer. I'm from the channel Seasons Readings. I also finished the book. I'm very interested for this discussion.
Hi, I'm Lena. My channel is Lena's Bookshelf. I did finish the book, and yeah, so sad that Jessie can't be here, but we are a group of can-do gals. Like, we were like, all right, let's just figure it out. Like, what are we gonna do? And we were like problem solving. We're like, let's just get it done. So sorry, Jessie, but hopefully we can do it some justice.
Oh my gosh, this is not good. Power not gonna come on until 4:30.
How do you know that?
Yeah, they already got you an update.
Yeah, they usually give you like an estimated.
That's crazy.
Wow. All right, well, let's have everyone in the comments let us know, did you read the Buddy Read book? Did you read the No Show? If you did read it, go ahead and you can start giving us your star ratings, maybe some overall thoughts. If you did not read it or did not finish it, let us know. I know there were some people who DNF'd it, so we'll chat all about that, but let us know who has read the book. And I think we'll maybe spend a little bit of time maybe discussing without spoilers, and then we definitely are going to want to spoil this book.
Yeah,
so
pretty
we will go
soon, so beware.
all into that. And let me go to our little thing of our questions, which Jessie planned, and I should have read ahead. Okay, we can do question number 1 while everybody is kind of commenting their thoughts. So Jessie's classic question, if you were going to describe this book using only 3 words, which 3 words would you use to describe it?
Ooh, I think I have 3 good ones.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to say mysterious, clever, and tragic.
Mysterious.
And tragic can be taken a couple of ways, like however you want to interpret that.
Oh gosh.
My words are made me angry.
Oh, spicy.
Yeah.
Same as Summer is what. Same as Summer.
Boring, gaslighting, pathetic.
Okay.
I had a feeling we were on the same wavelength, Lena.
My 3 words. I'd say delayed gratification. Underwhelming.
Okay.
Okay, let me go through. Not sure what the first one is, but let's see. Amy gave it a generous 2 stars. Yep, 2 stars, 3 stars, 2.5. Corinna gave it a 4. That's good. DNF'd, 4 stars, DNF'd. DNF. Okay, and then some three words: frustrating, surprising, and redeeming.
Yes, Corinna.
Boring, confusing, meh, messy, confusing, and slow. 3 stars. Did not need to be that long. There was a lot of nothingness, but just entertaining enough to keep reading. Okay, hello, Leah. Yeah, tough crowd. This is super polarizing.
This is going to be a tough crowd. Yep, I'm there with you, Corinna.
Okay, next question. Have you read anything else by Beth O'Leary? If so, which ones and what have been your thoughts? Do you recommend any of them? And if not, do you plan on reading anything else?
Okay, I have read, this is my 4th book by her. I've read The Flat Share, which was my first. I think I rated it 4 stars. My second book was The Switch, and I hated it. And then I read The Road Trip and this one just recently, and I really liked The Road Trip, but I also only rated it 4 stars. So I don't think I've quite had a 5 stars by Beth O'Leary yet. But I will continue picking up her books. But of the ones that I've read, obviously The Flat Share and The Road Trip, it just kind of depends. I think The Road Trip is more approachable than The Flat Share is because of the writing style of The Flat Share, but either of those.
This was my first book by her, but I really want to read The Flat Share. I used to have a copy of it, and for some reason, like, donated it or something, and then I decided that I want to read it again. So I don't want to. Well, I already told you that it made me angry, I guess. Even though I didn't love this one, I still would like to read other books by her in the future. Like, I liked her writing style and her characters and stuff.
I read The Flat Share years ago, like when it first came out, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I've reread it, and yeah, I absolutely loved that book. And then I tried to read The Switch, and I ended up DNFing it. And then I tried to read The Road Trip, and I ended up DNFing it. And so I was hoping that this was going to be a like cutesy romance like The Flat Share was. I loved The Flat Share because it was a cutesy romance, but it also had hard-hitting topics that were like well done. And this was just a freaking dumpster fire. And so I don't think I'm gonna read anything by Beth O'Leary anymore.
And I have not read anything else by Beth O'Leary. I know I saw The Flat Share absolutely everywhere when that book came out. That was such a popular, hyped book. I just didn't get to it, and I haven't heard as much about her other ones. Gwen, your video made me want to read some of her other ones, and especially I think The Road Trip would be probably up my alley. But are the rest of her books?
No, they're all so different. Like The Flat Share, like Lena was saying, it's like a cutesy romance, but it does have like harder hitting topics. But the thing about The Flat Share that I think will turn off, like I'm going to be the downer for The Flat Share, even though I rated it 4 stars. Like the thing that's going to turn people off to that book is the writing style, because in the female's POV, you have typical writing, quotation marks, normal narrative style. And in his POV, there's no quotation marks, and it's very like bullet style. Like it's not bullets, but like it's very stream of consciousness. Like I went to the store and I bought milk and eggs, and then I went home afterwards. That's how his whole chapters are. But you do quickly adjust to it, or at least I did. So that's why I ended up really liking it, because I could adjust to the writing style. In The Switch, I don't know what went wrong. I don't know if it was the premise of the story. Like, I don't know. It was just something was off about that. The Road Trip, I really liked because it was dual POV, which I liked. It was second chance, which I love. You also got to see them, like, you could tell just right from the beginning of the very first chapter of each POV, they're like still thinking about each other. They can't get enough of each other. And then you go back to when they first met, and it was like kind of lust to love. And then you figure out what happened, you know, why they broke up, if they're still like obsessed with each other. And I don't know, I really liked it. I love road trip novels also. So, but no, none's like as
like they don't have a
mysterious.
twist, like or like a
mysterious
like this one
thing.
does. Interesting.
Well, I mean, it depends, because like the road trip does have like a reveal, like why did they break up? So that's kind of mysterious, but it's not like this where you're like, what's going on? Something's not adding up. Like in the road trip, you know, okay, they've been apart for 20 months. What happened? and it's not going to be revealed until the end. So
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
All right.
and I didn't even know that about the flat share because I listened to it solely on audio. So I would, if you think that you're not going to like that whole like stream of consciousness thing like Gwen did, I didn't even know that. Like that's all news to me because the audiobook didn't feel like that. So I didn't even know that he didn't have quotation marks in his POVs.
It
So
kind of
just
reminded me.
That'll bother you.
Yeah. Well, that kind of reminds me of like everybody like hates Sally Rooney's writing style because she doesn't use quotations and stuff like that. But I listened to them on audio, so I had no idea. So I feel like that's
that
probably
could be
how
like
I would listen to it.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe do
And
the
I
audio.
wouldn't say it's not necessarily for me though, like the quotation marks, but I just can't. I should just go grab it, but it's just very like it's not like a normal sentence.
Yeah.
You know, it's just very like bullet points.
I kind of like that it's different though.
Audio, which I think is very interesting.
Huh?
None of that translated to audio though, which I think is very interesting. Like I didn't get any of that from it.
Michelle's 3 words are skip first half, which is hilarious. Yes, tough crowd. Have not read anything else. Have not. Have one on your shelf and you're worried. Have not. Saw her book coming out called Swept Away. I thought about getting it on NetGalley if anyone likes her. Keep an eye out for that. Haven't read her. Would read something else of hers to give her a fair chance. One book does not an author make, especially it sounds like in this case where they all sound very different. So your problems with this book might not be the same problems with other books.
Right.
Always give authors 3 strikes and you're out. Try more. That's funny. All right. Also, Lena, you look like Lauren Daigle. Okay, I think she's a singer.
Oh.
Okay, and then the next question we have is, what were your first impressions about the book? And before we do that, does somebody want to give a kind of somewhat non-spoilery summary of the book and like what the initial setup is? Gwen?
Okay, the initial setup is that we're following 3 different women. Siobhan, who's a life coach, Miranda, who's a tree surgeon. If you don't know what a tree surgeon is, they cut down trees. That's it. Okay. And then we have Jane, who's volunteering at a local charity. And at the beginning of all their chapters, they're all like out on the state waiting for their man to show up. He doesn't show up. And so the rest of the book is figuring out like, why didn't he show up? Why is he dating all these women? You know, that's basically the story.
Yes.
And it's on Valentine's Day that he stands them up.
Yeah. So what were your initial thoughts, I guess, getting into it?
I thought that I love a multiple POV book, especially in romance. So you get all the different POVs. I thought I was easily able to distinguish the women because their jobs, the way they talked, the things that were happening in their lives were so vastly different from one another. I was easily able to distinguish the characters from one another. But at the same time, even though the characters were good for me, I thought it was really, really slow. Like nothing was happening. It was like the first chapter was the date and then nothing was happening.
Yeah. Anything
Literally,
to add, Lauren, Lena?
Ditto the exact same thing that Gwen said. Like I liked it enough to keep giving it a chance, but I agree it was moving really slow. But I did love how easily I could differentiate all the characters.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I could easily differentiate the characters within the first 25%. I feel like it took until about like 40-50% for me to really feel like each distinct character had her own voice and her own like kind of subplot. And I feel like the synopsis was extremely misleading in this book. Like I was going in expecting like looking at the cover and reading the synopsis, I was expecting John Tucker Must Die. I was in it for like a funny rom-com of these women sticking it to this man who stood them up, and that was absolutely not what I got. And the first chapter, yes, he stands up 3 women, but then it's like, then that's it, and the whole rest of the book.
But she couldn't tell you, well, whoever wrote the synopsis on the back of the book couldn't tell you what it's really about. That would have been a spoiler for the entire book. And we can talk all day about how they put cutesy covers on romance books that have sexual assault, suicide, major trauma, like whatever. So you can't really blame like the author and the story for a synopsis on the back of the book or a book cover.
Yeah,
I mean, the marketing may have.
I don't know though. I think
it was marketed so incorrectly.
The books that I'm thinking of that I would suggest to people to read instead of this one, the covers fit that type of romance. And I feel like they could have done better. Like that's one of my other main things. I totally agree with you, Lena.
But what's wrong about it? Can you tell me what's wrong about it though?
It just
the cover. Tell me what's wrong about it.
No,
Like,
it's a cute cover.
It's adorable. I love the cover.
Yeah.
No, but what's wrong about it? What's misleading or mismarketed about the cover?
It's giving rom-com and it's not a rom-com. It's not funny. It's not lighthearted.
But name another, like, name an Emily Henry book that has an appropriate cover that matches the book. That depicts the N. Abby Jimenez book. Or
the vibe is, the tone is different.
Yeah.
I feel like the pacing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pause. Let's agree to disagree on this point. I think we can discuss a little bit more because I have thoughts also, but I think it goes better with once we're talking spoilers on specifically like the marketing and what I would have expected maybe. But any other, I guess, non-spoilery thoughts then? Let's just use this as kind of the final, like, all right, the next question is kind of, how did your feelings change throughout the story? And let's segue that into kind of overall thoughts, recommendations for anyone who has not read it yet, and then we'll spoil away.
Anybody want to start?
I'll just say, I think that my enjoyment of the book, like 50%, I was like, okay, this needs to be over. Like, it's taking way too long to get there. 50%, I was like, I kind of want to DNF this. So that's how my thoughts changed.
Yeah, I wanted to DNF too. And then I guessed what the twist was going to be. And I was hoping that would change my feelings on it once I like kind of figured out what was going on. But it just took so long to get to that point that then it was like, it just, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. I feel like the time and like brain power that I put into it wasn't worth what I got out of it. But at the 25% mark, I was feeling like, okay, I'm kind of bored, but I'm hoping it'll like move along. But then it didn't. So I think that's why my thoughts changed. So I kind of agree with Summer.
I think mine pretty much stayed the same the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like interested. I was intrigued to finish, but I wasn't like blown away by the ending. I think that she could have definitely like kind of mixed that through. I don't know how. I was trying to think like how could she have like mixed it in earlier or left bigger breadcrumbs, and then maybe it would have been like a better emotional payoff for me. But I think it was just like too little too late. But I kind of felt the same throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, so my thoughts were really, really similar to Gwen's because I enjoyed the setup for the most part for the first like 25% or whatever. I thought the characters were very distinct and I was very confused yet intrigued about Joseph. Is his name Joseph?
Joseph Carter, yeah.
Joseph Carter, yes. And like, yeah, if I had not read the synopsis, I would not have known necessarily that it was the same guy. So I liked having that frame of reference because that definitely like is the point, and that's why it's intriguing, is because it's the same guy. So I think I would have been more bored and more likely to DNF if I didn't have that from the beginning. But then once I got to like the 50% mark, I was on the side of like, I'm not DNFing this because I have to know how this is all going to come together. So with that, I think we can get into full spoilery territory. So if anybody hasn't read the book, I'm not sure we gave a good idea of whether or not you should read it based on your taste, but this is just a really hard book to like describe accurately and to even, I think, market accurately, because kind of the mystery of it is kind of the point. But I wanted to come back to this with the spoilery thoughts in mind. And I guess to kind of set the stage, maybe we should give a brief overview of like what is really happening here for anyone who didn't finish it and doesn't want to, but wants to understand. Does anybody want to go through that, or else I can kind of share too? Gwen's been doing a lot of talking, so I don't want to put it all on Gwen.
Yeah,
not me. I feel like
So Jordan, you've got a good. I mean, I mean, basically, it's just like the reveal. There's just like one thing that if I said this one thing, it would just kind of like reveal what's going on. Do you want me to just say that one thing?
Yeah.
It's different timelines. This is not happening all on the same Valentine's Day on the same year. It's just different timelines. Now, there is some carryover of characters. So there's 3 main girls. You have Siobhan, and then Miranda and Jane. And Siobhan and Jane's chapter or their timeline does overlap. But Miranda is in a totally kind of different timeline. And
she's basically between them time-wise.
Yes, because Jane and Miranda's overlaps, but Siobhan was like before.
The first one. Yeah.
Yes, but then she had kind of the work situation.
So I guess that's why people say it was like, so to me, when people say that it's mismarketed or is it marketed correctly, it never says, it just says that they have one thing in common. They've all been stood up on the same day, which they were. Not the same year, but the same day.
I think the one misleading thing on the back with the synopsis is that it says 3 women who seemingly have nothing in common find that they're involved with the same man, which I think does imply that they become aware of each other and that that they are dating the same man. Whereas Siobhan doesn't know anything because she's the first one. So like she has no, she doesn't find out anything because she doesn't.
What is your
overlap? Right on the very top, like in the red.
Oh.
Just like the blurb that would be one sentence blurb. It says 3 women who seemingly have nothing in common find that they're involved with the same man in this smart new rom-com by Beth O'Leary. And then it goes to describe kind of the 3 women and that they have one thing in common, which I think that is all like clever and it is the point. And I think people can still have feelings about like whether you like the twist or not is a valid response and opinion to have. But yeah, that's just the one part where I also got John Tucker Must Die from that synopsis. So I was like, they're going to gang up on this guy. And like, that also, I think, leads you to not really root for him because you think he's cheating and you think he's a bad guy. And then it's kind of hard to pull that back to like give him the redemption arc by the end, which is tough. But I do also agree that like, it's hard to market this because you are kind of intentionally misleading your readers, which is also a choice. But so those are my thoughts. Let's see, where was I in some of the comments? Don't like Emily Henry either. I think she's misleading. So everyone has their opinions, I think, and that's okay.
I think most not rom-coms. I think most romance are leading towards the illustrated covers. And they're doing it to like draw you in and make you want it and make you think certain things. So like, that's what I'm saying. Like there's so many books on my shelf that I could pull off and be like, this didn't talk about this serious topic that this was in. So
yeah, I think I just kind of felt personally like, can we like, are we talking like spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I just feel like them making us love a character and then having them get killed off. Like that was not in the realm of anything.
I'm a thriller reader. That happens.
I thought that was the best part of the book. That was the only time that anything actually happened.
But like, and I like that too. I read thrillers, but like for the cover, that's not like if you think about like Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, like those covers where it's like, but that is in the synopsis though. Like it's a more heavy hitting kind of book. But for this, I kind of would have expected like more of like a literary romance kind of cover. Not like a cutesy rom-com cover. So that's kind of where I think it was like not hitting for me. Because I was just pissed. When that reveal happened, I kind of had slowly caught on. I'm like, this is where it's going to happen. I was like, if this happens, I'm going to be so pissed. And then it happens. I was like, you're effing kidding me. Like, so I think
I've read at least like 3 other books this year that have had covers like that where someone's died or something tragic has happened and the cover's been this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the covers are definitely to sell the books.
Yeah,
they don't really care if you hate the book after you buy it.
They really don't.
I mean, kind of, but not really. Yeah, and some people enjoy that it's not your typical romance, and fair enough that some people are.
Yeah, I don't think we ever go in. I don't personally go into a romance expecting a mystery twist, and
right, and it's a little tough. it's kind of like the discussion about spoilers and things, like, and trigger warnings being spoilers, where like you probably could give a content warning here that like one of the main characters dies, and that's it's kind of traumatic, but that's a huge spoiler. So that's a tough discussion too. Let's see.
I don't know if I didn't read the synopsis, if I would have known it was the same guy.
Yeah, somebody
Yeah.
said that they went in having not read the synopsis, and I'm interested to see. I don't remember who it
Yeah,
was.
what they would think.
Yeah, I think it was Helen. Maybe didn't read the synopsis. It's like,
Okay.
did you?
And
I
then
think-
also, where's the calm? Like, comedy is subjective, so
It's true.
I don't know about with this book though. I don't know how
I
subjective.
laughed.
Yeah, I agree with whatever I think someone earlier said, that like him constantly being like late and kind of flighty, I think was supposed to feel like light and goofy about him. I don't know that it landed
Yeah,
great
it
like,
didn't.
for me.
I mean, not
But
the funniest book I've ever read, but I usually don't laugh in rom-coms, and I laughed in this one. That whole tree thing with that guy AJ, I was laughing. I'm sorry. It was hilarious to me.
Let's see. I was expecting her to die to explain why Joseph is so distant with the other women. Dialogue that made me laugh. Okay. Also, my husband and children just got home, so you might hear
Scurrying.
things in the background.
Like, plot twist, I'm hosting.
Yeah, I messaged him, said impromptu little change of plans, but all right. Does anyone have a favorite character out of the three women, Siobhan, Miranda, and Jane? Who was your favorite point of view to follow, or did you have one that you related to the most?
I don't think I would. Oh, go ahead, Summer.
Sorry. I really liked Siobhan, which made me even more pissed when she died. And then I liked Jane because at certain points of my life, I've been able to relate to her a lot. So I liked her character development a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I liked Jane's character development the most. I don't think I could relate to any of them, but I also thought Miranda's were like the funniest parts.
I actually agree with that. Yeah, I think that I disliked Jane the least, and I feel like I could see bits and pieces of myself in her the most.
Yeah, I liked Siobhan also. I actually liked all of them. I think they were all different enough that I could clearly see kind of their personalities and their strengths and stuff differently.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have some questions that were from the back of the book. Did any of these call to anybody in terms of what kind of gets more into the weeds of like the trauma of these characters and what they went through?
I do think, like, I mean, this isn't really as much of a question, just more of like something I noticed. Like, there's a question that says each of the women brings out a slightly different side of Joseph Carter, and I definitely saw that. Like, it was very clear that it was the same person throughout, but I felt like they brought out different like aspects of him, like different parts of his personality. And I think that's why I was like, I knew it was the same person based on the back of the book, but if I hadn't read the synopsis, I don't think I would have minded. I think I would have enjoyed that as a twist, learning that it was the same person, because there were parts of his personality that were brought out by each of the women. So I almost feel like I wonder what my reading experience would have been like if I hadn't known that it was the same person.
Yeah, that's a good question. I agree.
Yeah, I think the book would have really benefited from like a prologue maybe, and then we knew that something tragic happened. And then maybe we knew, like, okay, he's not a total douchebag. Because at first, all you know is he's standing up all these women. We're assuming it's all in the same timeline on the same day. Because, like, one was in the morning, one was at night. Like, it was all different times of the day that these things are supposed to happen. So it's leading you to believe that this is all happening on the same Valentine's Day, on the same year. And so I'm just like, what a douche. And then when the girls are straight up asking him, like, so oh, what made you late? Or why didn't you show up? Or whatever. And he's just dodging their questions. I was like, okay, if I'm a girl and I'm straight up asking you, like, you just stood me up and I want to know why, and you're not answering, I'm so out of here. Like, I'm gone. But then, like, his mom having dementia, and of course, I can relate to that. So I was like, oh, he's going through something really hard. Maybe he has a lot going on. And then, then the theories started. Because how, like, she was saying, like, oh, is she the other one and stuff like that. So I started at that point. Once I knew that, I don't know if that was like 30% in, or I don't know how far, but once that happened, I was like, okay, wait, something else is going on. And now I'm really intrigued.
So what were some of your theories? What did you think was going on with him?
Okay, well, the biggest theory, I was so sure I had it right, is I was like, this is all the same woman. And she has like either multiple personality disorder or some type of amnesia, like in 50 First Dates, or something like that. I was like, and he doesn't have the heart to tell her, like, oh, you're this person, or you're this person, or you're this person, you know? But then it was so funny because I was 100% sure I had figured it out. And then I went back to the book and I was like, but wait, there's all these other side characters and different POVs. I was like, so it couldn't be that Gwen. You're just imagining things.
And like, you're probably not going to put someone with that much going on, like, up at the top of a really tall tree.
Right. So I was like, okay, you're crazy.
I thought the same thing, though. I thought the same thing, like an amnesia trope or something, you know, like what is that movie with Rachel McAdams, The Proposal or whatever? I was thinking maybe it was something like that. But when, and Helen said the same thing, but that's exactly what I thought. Everything with the mom, that's what originally led me to believe that we were on different timelines. And especially with the mom with dementia, I really started to hate him when he, like, especially when he took the one girl and his mom was like, oh, hi, Siobhan. And he's like, Mom, that's not Siobhan. You know this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't bring your mother into your bull
But
crap,
I totally wouldn't think that because I'm like, she has dementia. So I'm like, she's done lost her mind. So
yeah, but then I felt like he was using that to his advantage. Like, oh, like I felt like he was playing the like pity card. Like, oh,
well, and the mom also said something like, "Which one is this?" Which is a very different comment than like misremembering like a past girlfriend or something. But saying which one is this is a little more like, okay, there must be multiple.
Yes. And then I did feel like he was like he used that a lot. Like he that was often like his response when the girls would be like, why are you so emotionally unavailable? He's like, oh, my mom. And I'm like, I don't like that. Like, you can't use your mom for everything. And
yeah, but that's what Jules said is what the author wanted us to think, that he was just bringing multiple girls home and she couldn't keep them straight and stuff like that. That's what she wanted us to think.
Yeah.
That's how she wrote it. But I was like, something is not adding up here.
Yeah.
But
also, he kept on telling all of the girls, oh, I'm emotionally unavailable. I can't be with you right now. There's somebody else. I'm emotionally. And I was like, there's no way this guy's dating all three of these people at the same time and telling them all that he's emotionally unavailable, because then he's not with any of them. So what's the point? So I knew that there must be something with the timelines. I
never thought the timeline. Jordan did though.
I did. I clocked the timelines pretty early on, but I knew that didn't explain the whole story because, like, even if it's in different timelines, he still stood all of them up and he still is having all of this shady stuff happen. So, like, there still needed to be way more explained. But, yeah, I think clocking the timelines also helped me be like, all right, that does explain this. So, like, I can generally root for the characters, but I'm going to need this all to be laid out for me.
Wendy says, I knew nothing. I was straight shook. And Lexi goes, I thought Mr. Joe was hallucinating it all or something.
So one question I had that wasn't explained or I don't remember. So why did he go by Carter? So why did he Joseph Carter Joseph?
So he went by Joseph in Siobhan and Jane's chapters because they both worked at that law firm. So he probably went by Joseph because he also worked at that law firm. But then later, Miranda called him Carter. So he probably just likes to go by Carter, but because they knew him from a work setting, he probably went by Joseph. That's the only thing I could think.
So it wasn't ever like actually
No, and that's what was
explained
so
as a plot
confusing
point.
because I knew going in, I had such blinders on because I knew going in it was the same man. So at first I wasn't clocking that they were saying different names. I was just thinking they were, and then I was like, wait a minute,
Who's Carter?
what?
Mhm.
Who is Carter and who is
Yeah.
Joseph? And then it wasn't until like towards the end that it was like, I don't know if I marked it or not, but it was like here that they finally said Joseph Carter. And I was like,
Yeah.
ah!
Well, and they had said something about, it must have been when Miranda went to his mom's house and there was a piece of mail that said Miss Mary Carter or whatever. So then
Yeah, or
at that
something like that.
point,
Yeah.
I
But I
clocked
still
that
didn't catch
Carter is
on.
his last
I
name,
had
but
blinders
still.
on.
Yeah, but also like, and yeah, somebody said like dudes will call each other by their last names, but also like I feel like if you have a last name, it's a first name. I feel like a lot of times like it just
Yeah.
becomes like a nickname.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, convenient. Were there other questions like that that anybody else had of like lingering questions about plot holes or explanation or anything like that that you missed? Because it is a little bit complicated, like how it all layered together. And I
Mhm.
thought it was pretty satisfying getting it all. Like once it
Mhm.
all got laid out, I made like I made some notes of like, okay, 2015 to 2016, he was with Siobhan. Siobhan had this client this Richard guy who had Jane as an assistant. And so Jane was involved pre-Joseph with all of this stuff. And then
Mhm.
2018 to 2019, Miranda was with Joseph and all the stuff. And then
And
the
then
fake
some of the
dating.
women were just kind of doing it like, I'm not going into this for a relationship either. This is just my side piece over here. I'm too busy with my job, you know.
Yeah, because with Siobhan, they had like an open
Like whenever she was in the
relationship for a
area or
while.
whatever, she's like, I'll let you know when I'm in the area.
Right.
Yeah, and then when she because she ghosted him when she had like her pregnancy scare, and
Right.
then she texted him and went and talked to him, and she was like, "So can we hook up now?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm with somebody else," and she's like, "So we can't hook up?" And then like she even like it's like you're like in her thoughts, and she's like, I have to be a girl's girl. And I'm like, why is that a decision that you're having to make? Or not like, I don't know, like that really turned me off to Siobhan. Like, oh, why are you still like, it's like, she was like, well, you're with somebody, but like, I guess I won't try and get somebody else's man. I was like, girl, what are you doing? I did not like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Let's see. Did I have any other? I don't think I had any other questions or plot holes or anything else. Let's see. Any of these other questions?
I wanted to ask, did we like who he ended up with?
Yeah. Did you like the
Yeah.
conclusion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. I like how he was trying to be with Miranda. Like he was trying to make that snap decision, like, okay, I'm going to be with Miranda. And then she was like, no, you're not ready. So I thought that was really good on her part, but also because she was feeling feelings for for AJ.
Yeah.
And so it was like, she was doing it for herself, but she was also doing it for him.
Yeah.
And then I really like that he ended up with Jane and stuff like that, especially all that crap that she had been through.
Yeah. She had been through a lot. Yes, I'm happy for Jane. I still feel like he could have been a lot more straightforward with her about everything that he had gone through.
Because
And
they
like,
had the book club, right? Didn't they have the little book
yeah,
club
they
and
were
they were the
friends. They were
yeah.
friends for a while, and then they did like a little fake dating thing, still as friends, but like he was
Yeah.
helping her out with this favor. But
But
then he
I
like made this internal promise to himself that he was going to take like a year before officially dating her or whatever. And I feel like he could have probably talked it through with her. Um,
like maybe
because
I need to take a year off because something traumatic
all of this
happened.
crap,
And
yeah.
maybe he didn't even need to go into detail at that point. He could have just been like, look, this
Yeah.
is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, because he just left Jane really kind of in the dark as far as like, does he have feelings for me or am I just crazy? And then like she could have made a decision herself about, whether she was okay with that and she was willing to give him time to work through his stuff or like whether she should have moved on instead of kind of being, I don't know, strung along a little bit.
Yeah.
But still I did like I like how everything was resolved. Yeah, I did like the conclusion. I liked that Miranda also like cut it off and was like, "You're not ready for this, my guy."
I also wanted to ask, like, for the people that did not like it, like if you rate it, like, let's say 2 stars or below, what could have made you like it better? Or
Good
what would
question.
have
Good
made you like
question.
it better?
More plot. I think there was just so like in between 25% mark and like the 80% mark. I feel like it was just so much back and forth and just miscommunication and gaslighting. And I feel like all of that mess was not like it wasn't satisfying enough to learn what happened and how it all played together because of just how much mess you had to read through. So I think there just wasn't enough. It was too character driven for me.
Okay, I think that's a good way to sum that up, Lena, because really it was just him. You follow the relationship with him and Siobhan, you follow the relationship with him and Miranda, and you follow the relationship with him and Jane, and then you're like, okay, this obviously isn't going to work out. He can't date all 3 of them for the rest of the time. So
right, exactly. So I felt like all of that could have happened a lot quicker versus just kind of back and forth. Jane, Siobhan, Miranda. I felt like all of that could have been extremely condensed. So I think it was just too character driven for me.
Yeah. What about you, Summer?
I agree. I think that the pacing and that it was just really character driven.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like it could have just been a shorter book. But also though, like this is why it's a 2-star for me, not like a 1-star, is like I can tell the talent was there, like to have that much stuff going on and to keep track of it and to be able to like execute it successfully. That takes a lot of talent. Even though I didn't like how it ended up, I can still recognize that she did a good job. Like she did what she set out to do. So, but yeah, I just say pacing and character, too character driven. Yeah.
Yeah. And I usually like character driven, but
yeah, more
What were you gonna
cutesy
say, Gwen?
moments. More cutesy moments.
Yeah, I would have liked more of a reason to root for Joseph.
Yeah.
I really feel like there was not much.
Yeah.
Because basically the whole thing, you're like, he's a cheater.
This is nothing but red flags. Even if
Mhm.
even if he's not a cheater, he's still just a
It's problematic.
forgetful, lying guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't feel like there was much there other than he must have been attractive, but I would have liked more of a reason to root for Joseph than I feel like I really would have been on board for figuring out not only what was going on, but also like rooting for him to end up with somebody.
Yeah.
Something current that could have helped them stand out from each other. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so what did we already say everyone's star ratings? I don't think so. So what were everybody's final star ratings and any other final thoughts you would like to share about the book?
Who's going first?
I mean, I already kind of said.
Yeah, you said yours,
a minute
Summer.
ago. I gave it 2 stars. Yeah.
Okay. Lena, what did you give it?
I am between a 2 and a 1. I think after this discussion, I'm leaning more towards a 2. Because I've also had a couple days away from it. I was very angry when I finished the book. I felt like I kind of wasted my time, and I felt like the juice was not worth the squeeze. And like I said, I don't plan on reading any more Beth O'Leary just because I think the writing style, I don't know, have no interest in it. But I can see the amount of I can see the thought process behind what she was attempting to do, and I can see how it can hit with people. I don't think the book accomplished what she wanted it to, but I definitely I can see why people enjoy this book. I just absolutely did not. So I think I'm ending with a 2-star.
Okay, I was telling people that I was talking to about the book like the whole time. I was like, I'm in between like a 2 and a 4. Like literally it could be any of those ratings. But I think I'm just going to land on a 3-star because number one, it's in between those 2 ratings because like it was long and it was like, what's going on? It was confusing. Of course, I know that now that it was on purpose, that it was confusing because I'm reading different timelines and I don't know that. And so, but the intrigue was still there for me to figure out like what was going on. So, but then the execution was, it was too little too late, kind of. Like we either needed a prologue, we needed some bigger breadcrumbs along the way to make me excited about finishing it. Like when I was reading it, I straight up started looking up Goodreads reviews. And it was that one review that I posted in my blog where it said like, what, the crying face emoji, and she ended up giving it 5 stars. She's like, for 60% of this book, I was going to DNF it, but I finished it. And oh my goodness, like I was like, okay, so there's something going on at the ending, you know? So it kept pushing me, but it wasn't like my personal enjoyment necessarily that kept me going. But I thought it was super clever. I've never read something like that in a romance book before. And like, I think it was Summer that said she was able to keep track of all that and know what was going on. So I thought it was like very clever, but it could have been executed better for a higher payoff at the end. Because like when it happened, I was like, of course she died. Like,
Right.
not surprised.
I think, my thoughts are very similar to Gwen's, like I kind of said earlier, but I'm at a 3 stars because the idea of it, the second half of it, and the intrigue of it was all really high for me. Probably like a 4-star rating. My enjoyment of each girl's storyline themselves was more like a 2-star. But I feel like she needs to like pick a lane and then she'd probably have more success. Like, are you going for the emotional story? If you're going for the emotional story, then be upfront about what's going on and give us a reason to root for this guy and just tell his story. Like Jill says, like it could have been a lovely story about his struggles, but it kind of cheapened his story because she was also going for the shock factor and like that intrigue factor. Whereas if you wanted to do that, then great, cut out the whole first half where you're just like meandering around. Just get to the meat of the exciting part of the story, and then maybe you could have a little bit better luck like marketing it correctly, getting it to the readers who want that, and then still have like, I think you could still do the Valentine's Day thing and still like have that hook, but like streamline it a little bit to go one way or the other, and that probably would make it overall more successful
And make it more funny. It was funny, but make it more funny.
Everyone, so if you haven't told us your final thoughts or anything, let us know. If I had nothing better to do, I would reread it knowing there are different
nothing
timelines.
better to do. Never.
That's funny. I kind of, I thought the same thing, and I think that often for books of like that moment when things click. It like I always get that thought of like I would enjoy rereading this to read it with that perspective, but I never do. I never go back and reread the book. But
Nope.
Agree, Hannah.
She did take a risk.
She did take a risk because, like I said, it's different from all the books I've read by her.
Yeah.
Who knows, Danny, my rating might change. My ratings often change a couple weeks after.
We'll see it on
I
your
wanted to
worst
say it
books
too.
list next year.
But I always feel like if I discuss a book, then I usually end up like if I'm on the cusp, I usually end up rating it higher.
Yeah.
Like I find that with like Sleep When I'm Dead books too. Like there's been multiple that I was like on a 3, and then after the discussion, I raised my rating to a 4. So
yeah.
But I love books like this that have something to say that like people either enjoyed it or they like really didn't. Like I love book discussions like this.
Well, yeah, and the whole time I was reading it, I was like, this is going to be such a juicy discussion because I could see left and right people were DNFing it, people were having really strong feelings. Gwen is defending it, so there must be something like towards the end that pulls it together. So.
And for some people it did, you know. I mean, we all enjoyed the ending, but it was just like to get there, it was a little bit more of a slog than we wanted it to be.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Does anybody have any recommendations of similar books? Whether you would recommend it to someone who did like this, if they want more like it, or something else you would recommend, maybe if they did not enjoy it.
All right. Well, if you like romance books that play with timelines, I would read In 5 Years by Rebecca, because that one also kind of plays with time a little bit.
That's a good one. And that one also has a pretty big emotional sucker punch
Yes.
that it pulls in like
Yes.
partway through. So
And I
And-
felt like that book was also mismarketed, so it falls in line too.
And guess what
Yep.
I rated it? 3
People
stars.
definitely
The
do.
same thing I rated this one.
Yeah.
Also Dream On by Angie Hockman. It's about this girl that's dating this like dream guy for like 3 months. She's absolutely in love with him, but then she gets hit by a car. And then when she wakes up from that accident, Devin and all of her memories of him were literally a figment of her imagination. So none of that actually happened. And then a year later, she bumps into him. There's a mystery element. So that one, for ones, if you like this book or the premise of it.
Did you rate that book higher? Or was that also
No.
a 3?
It was also a 3. But I would say, like, if you didn't like it and you want to try another book by this author, The Road Trip, which I'll say now, it has some hard-hitting topics in it. So whatever that means for the book cover, I'm just letting you know it has hard-hitting topics. And then, but if you want to try something else by like totally different, if you're looking for something funnier, go with The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. I laughed out loud so much in that book. If you're wanting something more emotional, but not like tragedy, try Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell. And if you're wanting something super cutesy, try My Phony Valentine by Courtney Walsh.
It's a lot of Rex.
That's all I got.
Summer or Lena, did you guys have
I
any?
agree. I agree with Hannah in the comments. 7 Year Slip with like Gwen. What was your first book that you said?
In 5 years.
Okay. For a second I thought you said 7 Year Slip, and I was like, I'm probably repeating Gwen. I think 7 Year Slip because of the time element, and it does have like a heavy hitting element as well.
I was going to say that, but I was like, no, Summer's going to say that one.
Yikes, this makes me afraid to read The 7 Year Slip.
It's way
It's
different,
better.
though.
No,
It's way better.
I gave it 5 stars.
I gave it 5 stars as well.
Okay, because I gave In 5 Years like 1 star. So I would say if you want to pick up more Beth O'Leary, absolutely The Flat Share. It is more of your typical romance, and it's not that it plays with time per se, but the way the characters get to know each other is kind of unique. They get to know each other through like little notes and sticky notes around the apartment because they never actually meet. They live together, but they never actually meet, and they have to, share little, messages and food and stuff like that. So it is a very unique kind of meeting. And I love that about it. It has some hard-hitting topics, but it's not like a downer, kind of like this book was, I felt. But my other recommendation that definitely plays with time is The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. And this is about a man who travels through time, and you don't know why or, where he's going next, and you don't get to. That's kind of, part of the charm of this book is you don't get to learn why he is the way he is. But this man shows up in this woman's life at various times. And so he might be 8 years old. And then she might see him the next week and he's 70 years old. And it's just about her life and his life trying to intersect and trying to like kind of make a linear life out of a non-linear life, if that makes sense. But it's one of my favorite books of all time. I will say that I reread this last year and I only rated it a 4 instead of a 5. I don't think this book aged very well from when I read it in high school to now. I will say that, but it was nothing that I felt like was like offensive. Just some things that I was like, oh, that didn't really age well. But I do still recommend it. I just, I realize now in my, maturity that there's some things that I don't love as much as I thought I did in high school when everything is rainbows and butterflies. And then my non-romance recommendation would be Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. She time time travels to a different point in her life every year on New Year's. And again, you don't know why, you don't get to know why. And I think that's part of the charm, is not, not trying to figure it out, just kind of like enjoying it and going along with her and watching her in different stages of her life. And part of what I loved about that book was the other characters, like not even Una herself, but the other characters, I feel like made that book something really special. So those are my recommendations.
Nice. I think those are good recs. This is such a hard book to like give comp titles to, because either you're giving something like more known that has like a time travel or something with time element, or you're basically spoiling something else that has like a big twist like this, which nobody wants to do. But I second the Rebecca Searle recommendation, and also her other book, Expiration Dates, has a similar kind of hook to it, that like I was reading it more to find out like what was going on than I was for the romance of it. Alrighty, let's close out some comments. Would have DNF'd it if it weren't for Gwen. Yes. Recommendations for people just dipping their toes in romance, but only want to feel good and fun. So not the emotional elements. Someone recommended Sarah Adams, which I think is a good recommendation. Yes, people love 7-Year Slip. The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie is also a great one for timeline romance. Awesome. Haven't heard that one. You might love 7-Year Slip if you're typically consistent.
I feel like it's either going to be a 5-star or a 2-star.
All right. Well, any final thoughts? Anything anybody has to add?
I'm sorry Jessie wasn't here.
I know, this
I
was
know her
so-
rating though.
Yeah.
She rated a 2.
Oh, I think she said she was at like a 2.5 or a 3, but she was going to round up to a 3 on Goodreads. But she can let you guys know in Discord later. Everybody bug Jessie. What did you rate it? I think she said she was going to go for a 3, because after she talked about it with people and stuff like that. So I'm sad she couldn't be here to end off the readathon with us. But everybody, when she gets her power back, go bombard her and tell her great readathon.
Yes, a super fun readathon regardless, and I think a pretty good discussion book. Much better than all of us being like, I have no thoughts.
Yeah.
No thoughts at all. All right,
And
cool.
thank you, Jordan, for last minute hosting and being our MC.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan.
Hopefully this was somewhat coherent, but none of
You
us
did
were
great.
expecting to jump in and do
Either way,
this,
it's a fun memory.
Yeah.
Remember that time?
Alrighty. Well, everyone have a great night, and yeah, see you in another video on something very soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my